Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Arjun Bopanna. Join me in this journey to explore the Indian Constitution like never before. In this program, a 20-day program, I will be helping you to understand the Indian Constitution in a very simple but yet an effective manner that will help you to address any question dealing with Indian Constitution, Indian political system. These classes will be very useful for those who are appearing for civil services examination, whether it is at the UPSC or whether it is for any state public service examination. These will be mainly focused on the preliminary examination, but at the same time it will give you a very strong foundation that will help you to address the governance and polity related questions that appears in your mains examination. So now let's try to understand what is the scope of this particular class. In this classes, we will try to understand or study the Constitution of India. So when I say the Constitution, we will have to understand the salient features, that is the characteristic of the Indian Constitution. In the features, we will have to understand the basic background of our Indian Constitution as to how it was set up, how it was created, what were the various stages of formation of Indian Constitution, and what were the various factors that influenced the Constitution of India. Then we will also have to understand the basic principles of Indian Constitution. The basic principles like secularism, democracy, federalism, unity, integrity. These principles are very important for us to understand and analyze various constitutional issues and crises that we face on a day-to-day basis or we read around us. For example, when we talk about women's right into entering into religious institutions, the constitutional principles have to be interpreted in light with the changing circumstances. Therefore, we will first try to understand the basic principles of the Indian Constitution, which will help us to better analyze these issues, give arguments for and against any constitutional crisis in our country. Further, we will be talking about the structure of the Indian Constitution. When we say the structure, we will go into the details of what makes the Constitution, that is, the various components of the Indian Constitution. When I talk about components, we have to understand that the Indian Constitution is very well organized. It is divided into different parts. Each part is made up of articles, and each article deal with a specific issue. So we have to understand these parts and articles and what they are trying to say and how they are interpreted by Supreme Court of our country. For example, part 1 of the Indian Constitution deals with union and its territory. That means the geographical explanation of our country. Part 2 of the Indian Constitution deals with citizenship. So who makes up this country? Part 3 of the Indian Constitution deals with fundamental right, and so on. So we have to understand what each part talks about, and within these parts we have articles to describe various features. Further, we have got schedules, we have got annexures, etc., which I will explain to you as and when we progress in our class. Further, after we understand the structure or the components of the Indian Constitution, we will have to also understand the working of the Indian Constitution. When I say the working of the Indian Constitution, we have to mainly understand how the Constitution is understood or interpreted, and how it is undergoing change. So it is a very dynamic document. Indian Constitution is a very dynamic document, and it is constantly undergoing changes. It is being interpreted and it is being re-evaluated by our courts to give new meanings to various issues and components in the Constitution. So these things we'll have to understand, and this we'll have to relate with the current issues that is going on, whether it is on the basis of religion, whether it is on the basis of federalism, etc. All these aspects makes it very useful and important for you in the examination, and at the same time very useful for you when you are an administrator tomorrow. So now that you have understood that we have to mainly focus on the Constitution of India, let's first try to understand what this Constitution is. So, basically, when we say the Constitution of India, it is nothing but the supreme law of this land. When I say the supreme law of this land, it means that any other law in our country, any other customs, traditions, conventions, if it has to be valid, if it has to be considered legal in our country, then it has to confer or it has to abide by the Constitution. If a law, even if it is enacted by our parliament, if it violates the Constitution, such a law does not have a place in our country. So that is the Constitution. So Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Okay, it is what defines the relationship between the government and the people. That is, it defines the legal relationship between the government and the people. This is what is called as citizenship. It is the organic document of the country setting out the framework and the principal function of the various organs of the government. It prescribes the extent, it prescribes the extent of the sovereign power of various organs of the government and the manner in which they can exercise. Now, if we take, for example, the Prime Minister, the Constitution defines the power of the Prime Minister. So, the Prime Minister's powers are given by the Constitution, but at the same time, the powers are limited by the Constitution. That means our Prime Minister's powers are defined with respect to what they can do and what they cannot do. Therefore, it establishes rule of law. It prevents anybody else from taking or usurping away the power, and it establishes the rule of democracy. It prevents an autocratic or a dictatorial form of government. Therefore, Constitution is central to the functioning of India as a political entity and as an administrative unit. So, therefore, it is a very beautiful document for us to understand the basic premise and principles of Indian democracy. So, join me in this journey to explore the Indian Constitution and to understand it like never before. These classes will be very useful for those who are giving any civil services examination, whether it is at the UPSC level or whether it is at the state level, or you are taking any other competitive examination where you get questions from Indian Constitution and political system. These will be very useful. Further, it gives you a very sound foundation to understand the basic tenets of the Indian Constitution, essential for administration. This will be an entirely online interactive course. It will be extending for about 20 days, where I will be trying to extensively cover the Indian Constitution and analyzing it from the current context. I will also be solving some model questions so that you will be able to understand and able to focus better and understand how questions will be asked from each section. We will also practice some tests, and I will be sharing you some reference materials for easy revision. For more details as to how to attend the classes, just check the description box. You will get the details of how to enroll and how to contact, etc. I hope to see you in the next class. I am very sure that if you attend these classes, you will be very comfortable with Indian polity and Constitution. Thank you so much and have a good day.